We learned this month that more and more teens are committing suicide by poisoning themselves. Startling enough, but the study published in the Journal of Pediatrics also shows teenage girls are killing themselves by self-poisoning at a much higher rate than boys. One of the lead researchers on the study shared some details on the findings.
We looked at it for 19 years, from 2000 to 2018, and it was relatively flat from 2000 to 2011. After 2011, it began to rise dramatically. Something changed, and this is specifically in the school-age kids, 10 to 18. It started to dramatically rise after 2011, and this is something in different age groups like 10 to 12, 13 to 15. It jumped 300%. We tried to look at a number of things. The best fit we could find was social media, smartphones, that constant connection. I think that's part of it.
And a child psychologist also weighed in.
Social media is very much changing the ways that kids are interacting with peers. In some ways, it's really harmful. Kids are being victimized and bullied in ways that none of us could have imagined when we were growing up. They're also exposed to all kinds of violence and dangerous kinds of images. But I should point out that for suicidal youth, social media can also be very helpful, providing them with an opportunity to connect with others when they feel they have no one in their local environment.
Dr. Prinstein, why do you think girls are more likely to choose poison?
It seems like it's a kind of approach to suicide that allows someone to think a little bit before they engage in the behavior. And it is something that a lot of people have access to, unfortunately, within their parents' medicine cabinets.
All right, let's bring in our A-plus panel to weigh in on this very serious issue. Jeanette Hoffman back with us, Republican strategist. Good to see you, Jeanette.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill Caruso also back with us, attorney and Democratic strategist. Good to see you, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
You're both parents, so why don't we start with that perspective. Jeanette, one thing I never hear, and I get that social media, it's a great timeline. It's very convenient to say that is really when it blew up, and that's when the numbers changed. But, I ask this over and over again with these professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, where's the discussion of coping skills and dealing with adversity? It's like 2011 is not the first time kids in the world had to deal with adversity.
No, you're absolutely right, Bill. Talking about coping skills, dealing with adversity, and dealing with, social media and how to handle it, and having these conversations are really important because kids, they don't know how to cope with social media bullying, right? And it's something we've never had to deal with. So having those conversations with your kids, putting the phone down, having, heart-to-heart conversations about, telling people off, sticking up for yourself, that kind of stuff is really important.
That's a great
point. Kind
point.
of toughen up a little bit.
You have a situation here where I think as parents, you know what's best for your children. We have the first line of defense, and you defend. You mentioned social media. You can allow your kids to be in social media, but you don't have to allow them to be everywhere. My 8-year-old is not allowed to go to the same places my 13-year-old is allowed to go on his own. And we do that. And I come back to what Jeanette just said, the ability to have an honest dialogue with your kids. And so when your kid comes to you and says, hey, Dad, I smacked this kid because he was mouthing off to one of my friends and treating them rude, and to tell your kid you're going to have their back in that situation, that's different. Or if your kid is being a bully, deal with that. But understanding why and what's behind it, that's all about dialogue.
Is there something to this conversation that we have devalued life? And I'm not getting into a technical argument on social issues. Literally, when we talk about abortion, we talk about physician-assisted suicide, there's there's a way out. You made a mistake, we can solve it. And that solution is a life-ending permanent decision. Is that part of the problem? Because these kids are 12 years old and they're taking their own life. Can't take that back?
I don't think that's entered in the equation. I don't think that's what's going on. I mean, it would be interesting to see the studies, but I don't see that now.
Well, I will say though, social media and computers, we're a very dehumanized society right now, right?
Video games.
You will say things on social media that you would never say to someone's face, right? I can call Bill a jerk and all these kinds of things on Twitter. And this happens with teenagers and with preteens, right? They can be a keyboard warrior and say these horrible things about this girl that sits behind them in class, and there will be no consequences immediately.
I think it's time society learns. Everybody doesn't win, and you do need to toughen up and learn how to take the hits.
Agreed.
It's got to be part of it.
Agreed.
All right, thank you, guys.